see Tristan. Tristan was happy to see Odin, but he was a bit more concerned with the state of his house. He looked around and saw that there was blood all over his walls. He thought for a minute about where the blood may have come from, and he thought about his dog Odin. Odin didn't like when people came to the house without Tristan's permission. He then realized what had happened. It was obvious that Tristan was away from home, and because of this, burglars came into his house seeking to get his valuables. When they entered the house without permission, Odin wasn't happy about it. It was clear the dog chased the thief or thieves around the house, biting them until they left empty-handed. Tristan went around the house and checked for his valuables. Fortunately, nothing was missing from the home. Odin had managed to chase the intruders from the house before they could steal any of his precious belongings. Tristan called the police immediately, and they came to his house. When the story got out, he was interviewed for the local news. When he was asked how he felt about Odin and what he did, Tristan stated, "I could not be more proud of him. Such a great breed. It's why anybody who doesn't have a dog should consider buying, adopting, or rescuing one." He says that anyone who's unsure about the best breed to choose, he says that German Shepherds are the best, although he might be a bit biased at this point. He also said that if anyone was worried that Odin was violent, he wasn't. He told the reporter that Odin had never bitten anybody in his life. He added that all of his neighbors knew Odin and many enjoyed playing with him. He said Odin knew that the intruders were not friendly and they were not welcome in his home. He acted accordingly, and Tristan believed Odin did his job well. When the police saw what happened in the home, they called the local hospitals. They wanted them to be on the lookout for dog bite victims. After seeing all that blood, they assumed the dog had attacked the intruders and eventually they'd be seeking medical treatment. As soon as the hospital got one or more dog bite victim, they'd have a suspect for the break-ins. Tristan says that he couldn't be more thankful to Odin for protecting their home while he was away. He says that as long as he has Odin, he won't need to worry about going away again. He knows his faithful companion will keep the home safe and secure while he's away.
This is something you guys have been requesting the hell out of for a long time. It took a lot of time, but I finally found 3 stories that take place during school lockdowns.
Horror lockdowns.
It was a typical boring day in calculus, only it was Friday, 7th period, meaning the week was almost over and spring break would finally be upon us. So everybody was getting antsy in their seats, I could tell. We didn't have a test that day like a lot of my friends did with their other teachers, so our teacher in the middle of class just decided to start playing games with us on Sporkle.com. He was a very laid-back teacher like that. As we were doing some brand logo quiz on Sporkle, I remember the exact moment it happened.
Where to go, please?
Right after my friend answered a question, I remember the exact answer too, Adidas. The dean's voice came through the loudspeaker. He sounded panicked.
Snipers only? Oh, cha, dude.
This was not a drill, and to go into lockdown, I actually got the chills, and I got goosebumps on my arm, because our usually laid-back teacher, too, seemed panicked as he ran to turn off the lights and ushered us to the back corner of the room. We all sat in silence for about 2 minutes, and then the usual buzzing that came from a panel in the back of the room ceased, indicating that the school must have cut all the power. We all looked at each other, realizing this must be serious. A few more minutes of waiting later, we heard a man screaming at the top of his lungs coming down the hallway. 2 girls in the class actually started crying, which made all of us even more scared. As the screaming got closer to the classroom, the lunatic-sounding man started banging on the lockers while screaming, "I'll kill all of you." It was at that moment that I started to fear for my life. My teacher shushed us as we all looked at each other to see our peers' reactions. The banging then moved from the lockers to our classroom door. And that's when one of the crying girls screamed no. The banging on the door only grew worse as the man started screaming, "Open up." 2 of the girls in the class were crying out loud now. It felt like an eternity that man was pounding at the door. But eventually, he finally continued down the hallway, screaming like a mentally insane person.
Wait, where's the other one?
Anymore.
No, I know, I already got that one over here.
It felt like half an hour given the situation. The
Two of
dean
them.
came back on the loudspeaker explaining the situation,
I'll get the next
which was
game.
surprising for him to do. He explained that some apparently mentally unstable person entered the building and assaulted the woman sitting at the front desk, causing her to flee the building screaming, and staff wasn't sure if the man was armed or not. Now, this was before the school had cameras or could afford proper security, so the school was wide open to something like this happening. The staff had done a sweep of all the hallways and classrooms and couldn't find him, so the dean instructed the teachers to resume teaching, but to keep all the doors locked and to not let any students leave for any reasons. The most disturbing part, however, is that one of the janitors working the night shift found the man sleeping in one of the storage closets near the back end of the school, and according to rumors that were spread by my peers, sticking out of his pocket was a .44 Magnum.
Damn.
The janitor must have done something stupid to wake him up. For example, leaving the closet door open, because by the time a police officer could arrive on the scene, the man was gone.
Oh, hey.
My entire class, as far as I know, to this day, has no idea if this man was ever found.
I'm not in the snobby. I mean, I'm not in the
proper
salty.
help that he needs.
You're completely chill, like you.
My school has 2 lunch periods. The first lunch period is
Oh
for
my
6th graders and
God.
some 7th graders. The second lunch period is for the other half of the
I'm
7th
dropping
graders
this.
and all 8th graders.
I'm gonna win this game.
The lockdown happened in the beginning of October. The day the lockdown occurred, it was overcast and rainy. During the first lunch period, I heard 4 loud booms. I personally
no.
thought it was thunder, but the entire lunch crowd started screaming. I was thinking those kids were just serious pussies, but the campus security came in and started yelling at people to go into the multi-purpose room, and the kids who were in line buying lunch had to throw out their lunch and come inside. Me and some friends went inside the room along with a huge group of other kids. Everyone was curious as to what was happening. Our multi-purpose room is huge, and the back wall of the room is made of see-through glass. When me and my friends were rushed inside the campus, security was covering the glass with the curtains, and there were adults at every exit. My friend Eric was curious, as well as the rest of us, so he asked one of the adults what was going on. When he came back, he said, "You know how right in front of TMS there's those houses?" I replied, "Yeah." "There's this mentally disabled, crazy man that barricaded himself in front of his house, and he's threatening to commit suicide and kill the cops if he's evicted. He was walking around outside of school watching kids in a weird way," Eric told us. It turned out the man was also a registered sex offender, making matters worse. We were stuck in the multi-purpose room for a whole hour, taking up 2 periods. After the whole thing was settled, we were escorted to our classrooms one by one. I later found out that the man lives next to my friend Brandy, who told me about the previous Halloween when she saw the same man at his window cutting his arm and writing in his own blood, "Don't come here or I'll kill you," on his window.
How?
Being Halloween, people, including Brandy, assumed it was just for the holiday. But after this horrific incident, we knew this man was mental, and we're glad he never got near us. I'm 22 years old, fresh out of college, and I recently got a job at my old high school as a sort of computer intern in the school basement. The basement of the school is very messy and disorganized, but there is a small 3-person office that's actually very nice down there. It has 3 nice big desks, 2 mini fridges, a flat screen TV mounted on the wall, and also satisfying air conditioning, a luxury the students and teachers cannot enjoy in the school. And of course, all
Oh,
the
hell yeah,
school
this
servers
is a
and
fake ass
other
default. Look at
computer
these here.
stuff. I got the job because 3
Bro,
of
what
my old
the-
computer teachers flat out adored me.
Oh,
I could actually
bro,
consider
yeah,
them as real
that's
friends,
fine.
not just teacher figures.
There's
So
someone
they
like
all
I didn't
helped
even know this.
tremendously in landing me this job.
Bro, you can't do
It's
that
been
anymore.
great.
Alright, man.
Until something that happened a few weeks ago. My 2 co-workers that shared the office with me, Dave and Gary, weren't in the office
you
at
got
the time.
sniped.
They were upstairs working on papers or whatever. I was eating my sandwich during my lunch break when I got a phone call from one of the women in the front office telling me the school was on lockdown and that somebody, possibly armed, had entered the school. There wasn't much that I could do other than turn off the lights because, surprisingly, as nice as this little office was, it didn't have an actual door to it, just a big opening, and the door to the whole basement didn't even have a working lock. For my own safety, I did turn off all the lights in the office and my computer screen. I kept my phone on the desk, texting both Gary and Dave, but they wouldn't respond. I sat down there in the dark, playing games on my phone for like 20 minutes, waiting for the call from up front to tell me to resume working. I had no idea what was happening. I couldn't hear what was going on upstairs from down here, but I was not allowed to make any calls until I was informed that the lockdown was over. Then the noisy basement door opened. As the creaking echoed across the basement and into my office, I sat up from my seat, wondering if I should call out Gary or Dave. I was eager to get some info from them. Someone then came running down the stairs, and their footsteps were approaching my office. I pushed away my chair and crawled under my desk. Somebody entered the office, but did not turn on the lights. There was just silence. I can't even describe the fear I was experiencing. I felt like if I made one sudden noise, I'd be a dead man. Suddenly, my phone dinged as I got a text message. I felt my entire world shrivel up and die at that one moment as I clenched my teeth in fear. Footsteps suddenly moved closer to me until I finally dove out from under the desk in capitulation, begging whoever it was not to kill me. Just then, someone grabbed my arm and pulled me up. It was some guy in a red plaid button-up, jeans, and a reddish-black cap. He told me, "It's okay, I'm just down here hiding with you." "What's going on up there?" I whispered to him. He kind of ignored my question and asked me if there's an exit down here. I told him, "Yeah, around that way." Before he could do anything else, I asked him, "Who are you?" There was a brief moment of silence. Before he started explaining, he was coming in to pick up his son when a teacher told him to hide. After his explanation, I checked my phone and saw the text I received was from Dave. It said, "Dude, this is fucking crazy. Some guy with a gun shot Mr. Buckley. He's wearing a red shirt and hat. Whatever you do, don't come upstairs." I was about to reread that text out loud to the man, until I realized. I looked up and felt my stomach sink. The man seemed to catch on to my suspicious stare. Panicking, all I could think to do was to run for the upstairs. A gunshot echoed through the basement, and I could hear the bullet ricochet off something metal in the darkness. But thank God the bullet missed me, and I made it upstairs. Fortunately, police were waiting at all exits, including the basement exit, and caught the man the second he opened the door. More good news, our teacher, Mr. Buckley, survived the gunshot. It was later determined that the man and Mr. Buckley had some beef for whatever reason, but that was never revealed. All we know is that Mr. Buckley couldn't have done anything that would have warranted this kind of reaction. And I know that the sound of that gunshot will forever echo in my mind.
Hey, Dad, use Anchor instead.
I was 16 in my junior year of high school. I had 9 periods in the school day. 5th period was lunch, and straight from there was my astronomy class. My astronomy class was actually held in one of the 2 basement classrooms of the school. My high school was big. There were 3 floors, and even that wasn't enough to accommodate all the classes offered. So the school built 2 classrooms in the basement. It was honestly kind of creepy down there when nobody else was around. It used to be a janitorial area. However, it was remodeled to better resemble a typical hallway. The only thing, there were no intercoms or loudspeakers down in the basement at that time. For that reason, no classes were held down there first period for the morning announcements. Everyone referred to this little section of the basement as the chamber, and everyone always tried to get classes down there just because it was air conditioned and the classes were typically easier. Plus, it had its own bathroom down there. We had a quiz in astronomy that day. Usually I was one of the first done just because I found the class easy. After I finished my quiz, I texted my friend who was in the other basement classroom to meet me in the bathroom because I was bored. He told me okay. I walked out of the classroom and down the small hallway to the bathroom. A few seconds later, the door opened and my friend JJ entered the bathroom. We were joking around for a while until JJ checked his phone and said someone texted him saying the school was going on lockdown. We both looked at each other with the same grins. Neither of our teachers saw us leave the classrooms. That meant we had free reign to the school while it was on lockdown. We agreed to sneak upstairs and look around the hallways just for the hell of it. The worst that would happen is that we'd explain how we couldn't hear the announcements in the basement classrooms. Upon opening the basement door to the main floor, we were surprised to find all the lights had been turned off. So the hallways were pretty much pitch black aside from the light pouring in from the doors in the lobby. This was because usually the lights were left on in the hallways during lockdowns. Something was going down, and we didn't know if we were even comfortable walking around now. JJ stepped out a little further into the hallway, and I